Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar brought to you by the Information Lab. Here at the Information Lab, we dedicate ourselves to helping people make sense of data using Tableau and Alteryx. You're back here with Adi, bringing you the third episode of our mini-series showcasing the new Alteryx TravelTime macros from the company, TravelTime. And they're designed with the help of consultants right here at the Information Lab. If you're looking for earlier episodes, which I really suggest that you watch before diving into this one, just go ahead and click on the card on the screen now to head on over and catch up. We'll be here waiting for you when you get back. If you are sticking around, you'll remember being absolutely bowled over by both our office relocation example and our work in optimizing retail site selection. The TravelTime geocoder, the isochrone tool, and the TravelTime matrix were all integral to getting that speed to insight in those pieces of work. But speed to insight isn't just crucial in retail or finance, it's also critical in healthcare. And the final piece we have to share with you is our behind the headline viz, digging into the analysis behind a recent story in the Telegraph. Now, if we take a look at this story, it suggested that more than 1 million people live more than an hour away from a COVID-19 regional testing centre. Taking a closer look at this quite impressive looking map, we can start to see what's going on. If you reflect on the examples we've already created with the TravelTime macros, you'll start to recognise certain features. We've got dots indicating the locations of regional testing sites, and they're like our retail store locations from the previous example. We've also got colour-coded isochrones here, up to 60 minutes in 15-minute increments, and then above 60 minutes. And so the first step really in digging into the analysis is to recreate this visual using the tools we already have. And we're going to create those drive time isochrones in the same way we did with the retail example. I'm going to open up my workflow in just a second, but remember in the description there's that file share link that will take you to a location that will download all of the workflows that I'm using. So if you want to follow along, go right ahead. Remember, you can pause the video at any time if you need to catch up. Now let's take a look at my workflow. All right, the first step. I've got the regional testing site locations from that Telegraph article. Now, they themselves got those testing site locations from the Department of Health and Social Care. And what I do with these locations is feed them into the TravelTime geocoder tool. And you'll remember from before that geocoder tool will generate for us a latitude and longitude for those testing site addresses. And we need the latitude and longitudes to feed into the isochrone tool. Now, if we look at this isochrone tool, as before, we've got this initial tab where we've got to input our credentials. We jump into the configuration, which is where we get into the nitty-gritty of what we actually want. We're going to say, hey, give me a longitude field and a latitude field for where I should begin to draw my isochrones. And we have latitude and longitude from the testing site locations that we've just got from the geocoder tool. So we just select those fields. Remember also that the tool gives you the option to select whether you want to depart at a certain time or arrive by a certain time. Now I've said depart at in this case. You'll also notice that I've set the isochrone to be a single output. I'm effectively splitting it into individual isochrones here. And I've done that because it's going to run more quickly and I can show you easily what's happening. But if you wanted to, you can quite easily put in multiple values. If you want to run this in batch, if you have a little bit more time that you're happy to wait, you can just put these in a list, and that will generate 15-minute, 30-minute, 45 and 60-minute isochrones. So we can run it in batch. But for now, again, we're just going to do it in single. And the final configuration, I can jump into the basic tab here. And you'll remember that this gives us all the options to select our transport method. And we can select one or all of these or a combination of any. I've selected driving. I've also set a specific date and a specific time. Now these are reasonably arbitrary, but we wanted to replicate the analysis done in the Telegraph story. And that was set up using off-peak driving time. So we've chosen a Sunday morning. So to leave at 10 o'clock in the morning in the UK time on a Sunday. So that's off-peak driving. Now, if we go back again to this configuration, a reminder, we've only run this a single time. So that will generate for me a single isochrone output, which we can take a look at in the browse tool. And we're generating that isochrone, that drive time shape around each of the regional testing sites. You can see those green shapes around each of the red dots. The green shapes are the drive time shapes. Now all that means is that I have an intermediate step where I need to combine each of the isochrones that I ran individually into one larger shape, and I'm just going to do that using the union tool. So we'll dip into a larger kind of zoomed in example of my second step here. So there you can see I'm reading in the 60-minute, the 45, the 30, the 15, which I've already generated. I combine those using the union tool, and I've done a little calculation here where I can get from the number of seconds that come out of the isochrone tool. I just convert that into minutes. Now, eventually coming out of the end of this, you can see that we get the coverage of isochrones across the entire of the UK, around those regional testing sites. And if I scroll down, you'll see that the 15 changes to 30, to 45, and to 60. And they're surrounding each of my testing sites. Now, if you download this, you'll see that I've included this information that you'll be able to run yourself. So we have a step here that just requires us to do a little bit of trimming around Northern Ireland. So part of the 60-minute isochrone actually drifted into the Republic of Ireland, and that's not part of this analysis. So I have a little portion here that's just going to trim off the Republic of Ireland, so we're left with a sort of neat outline for Northern Ireland. But that's sort of by the by here. If we get back into it, you can see that even here, this is a rough sort of visual output, but we're pretty much ready to go, bar the styling. So we've got the map part. The core element is the generation of the isochrones. And you can start to predict what's going to happen, because you can see from our Alteryx browse tool that we have large areas that are not covered within 60 minutes at all. That's almost the entirety of Wales. Huge amounts of Scotland, even though, you know, that's the Highlands, but huge amounts of Scotland still covered. The northeast of England, a little bit of the northwest, that Norwich, the southwest. So we do have those pockets that aren't covered or that aren't possible to reach a COVID testing site within 60 minutes. But the more complex part of the analysis that was done in this Telegraph article was not assessing where the lack of coverage is, but assessing how many people live in those areas more than 60 minutes away. And from what I can see from the Telegraph article, the journalist, Ashley Kirk, has accessed a data source with population density at regular 1 kilometre grids throughout the UK. So our logic here is to find out first which land areas of the UK are outside the 60-minute drive time shape, and then figure out how many people live there. So these blank areas that aren't covered by this kind of red grey shape, we want to figure out how many people live in each of those areas. And we're going to drift into a zoomed in third portion of the analysis. Again, if you go to the file share, you can download this yourself. Now we achieve our outcome first by putting in a single shape of our combined isochrones. and they go in. That's the spatial object that we created in the previous step. What we do is use the spatial process tool and also the spatial match tool to find the area outside of 60 minutes. And then to that area, we assign a grid that contains the population density at a 1 kilometer level. And this is freely available to download, but I'll put the attributions in the description of this video. It's an academic data source, so we just need to reference that in the correct way. But for each UK grid, 1 kilometer grid, we get a population density number, which is this DN number. Now, once we intersect those two objects, our isochrones and our gridded population, we are able to see where the overlap is. And if we cut off or cut out our isochrone shape from our 1 kilometer grids, we're going to be left with slivers of the original grids. Now, to get a sense of what that looks like, this is it in simple form. We have a regular grid. Each of these grids is 1 kilometer and contains that DN, the population density value. When we cut out from that our 60-minute isochrone shape, we're left with slivers. A lot of the grids aren't complete. Some of them are, but a lot aren't. So you can see in the top left, we're left this sliver. We don't want the total population of this 1 kilometer grid. We just want the sliver where that overlaps. So what we need to do is perform an adjustment calculation to figure out what area of the grid is left and reduce the population accordingly. Now that occurs just here. So we've got the spatial info tool that generates for us the area of the grid that is left over when we perform the intersection. And then we have a calculation that corrects the population for the area that is left. And then we sum that up per sliver, per portion of grid left over, and then sum it up overall for the entire of the UK. Now, I'm not going to run this now because it is very, very heavy on processing. When I say very heavy, I'm sort of talking about 25-30 minutes. So it's not really suitable for us to watch live, but it would be something that, hey, go away, get a cup of tea or coffee, go for a walk, leave it running, and it'll be done when you get back. Now, when I run this, the answer that I get for the total number of people in the UK that are outside of a 60-minute drive from a COVID testing centre, 1.8 million people. 1.8 million people outside an hour from a regional testing site. And so we have the key ingredients for that Telegraph article now. We have the isochrones combined, and there we can visualize those. And we also have a single number product from our spatial analysis. And if you've listened to any of my spatial videos before, you know that I'm a huge proponent of not including chart junk. So we don't always have to include a map if it doesn't answer the question. We wanted to visualize the isochrones, so that is part of our visualization, but this spatial analysis that involves us calculating a total number, that is best as just a number. And that's fine to do. So this is what we have done. We're going to take a look at the Tableau Public visualization that we created. A reminder again that these are all on Tableau Public, each of the examples that we've come up with, because we would like you to go in, get the information from the file share, download these from Tableau Public, and have a go yourself. Try them out. Let's get it open in full screen. All right. Now, you'll notice, unlike the other dashboards, that this is static, but it's designed to replicate the static Telegraph piece. Now, even so, we can still use this to drive behavior. If we put this analysis into the hands of decision makers, We empower them to make better decisions about mobile testing facilities, drive-through testing, and so on. This method of analysis transfers to other public health issues or natural disaster response planning, for example. And you can see that we're adding masses of value here simply by the use of these travel time tools that take account of the way people really move around. Look, maybe that's something you and your business could get on board with. And with that, we are out. Remember, head on over to TravelTime for information on how to get your free API key, and also download the macros from the Alteryx gallery, try them out, see what happens. As always, feel free to reach out to us here at the Information Lab for solutions to your data challenges. To stay up to date with all our YouTube content, hit the bell icon at the bottom of the screen to subscribe to this channel. Stay safe, everyone, and I hope to see you all next time. Cheerio!